Hi, everyone. It's LinkedIn Live, Hour of Empower. The word of the day is collaborate. I'm always looking for new definitions and insights into different words. So we welcome your support here and feedback. Comments are wide open. So please share in chat anything you'd like us to focus on. We want to be as relevant and valuable as we can in providing some wonderful, beautiful takeaways you can actually use, benefit from, and come back and get some more next time. So with that said, I've got Leslie Flowers. Usually you'll know Leslie from Saturdays. This time we moved to Sundays, and probably we'll get back to Saturdays after maybe another opportunity. So with that said, welcome, Leslie. Love to hear what you have to say about Collaborate. Why don't you bring everybody up to date on what you've been doing since they saw you last? And with that, let the show begin.
All right, everybody, come on in. Oh, look, there's Randy. Hello, Don.
Finally, we got someone in the house. And,
Yeah.
comments do lag by about 4 or 5 minutes. So, yeah, that's why. So, with that said, Leslie, now that Randy's here,
Okay, we can start now.
yeah,
Since Randy's here, we were waiting for you, Randy. Thank you very much. You won the prize today. Actually, I was just over in Nicole's audio room, which looks like it's running over a little bit, that she has until 11 on Sundays. And then a lot of times people come over here after that. And that's collaboration. So for me, the best kind of collaboration that I've learned is that of the mastermind. And that has been around since the beginning of time. The cavemen. Way back then, remember, I had to go back a few thousand years. But that was a collaboration. That was a mastermind, right? There were parameters, there were boundaries, there was a strategy, there's a backup strategy, there's what to do if this happened, and then there's a debrief. I'll bet you 50 cents those cavemen got together over a bottle of whatever sitting on a log, and then they came up with the idea of the chair. After sitting on the ground and getting cold, they saw a log and jumped on that. All the ideas are already here. So mastermind was publicized and made popular 100 years ago by Napoleon Hill. He popularized the word, and it's one of the principles of success. And yet people have been using it all along. The power of mastermind is in its structure. So if you have a collaboration, planning is important. Right? The more planning and organizing you do, the more effective and time saving it will be.
Yeah, and I think that, it's really about how do you get the best of two into one acting group, or 3 or 4, whatever the size of the group is. So, when you can benefit from someone else's attributes and strengths, and you can then build yours into it, you've got a stronger, more advanced process or model to go to market with, or at least to be more efficient with, and whatever you're applying it to. And, collaboration also lends itself to knowledge share, to, having company, and also having someone to brainstorm with, someone to lean on. I mean, so there's so many strengths to adding one to one than being one by oneself, trying to figure it out, do it all, and everything else. I can see Leslie is enthralled with the audience. Doesn't take much for Leslie. Here we go. Randy says there are 3 others.
Oh, gee, let me write this down. This is a milestone day. We have 3 people attending.
Paul says, oh, hello, Dr. Leslie and Grandpa Don. We need to have a title for Paul, like Crown Prince or something, or knowledgeable.
Let me think about that. That's a good one. Because he is special. He's special, but what he may be too... He's not a sage yet. So I suspect one day he is going to be a sage. But right now, I don't know what to call Paul other than very bright and very kind and not judgmental.
Okay, well, that's too much already. So we'll leave it at that. I want to give Paul a big head with all these compliments.
Well, there's only 3 people. We can do it for Randy and Keglar as well.
Okay,
Right?
well, maybe if you have a suggestion for titles you'd like to be addressed, audience, we'll be happy to oblige. What a nice surprise. Grateful and honored to have collaborate with you both for sure. Randy's here back when Moby Dick was a minnow for sure.
Yeah.
I've heard that before. Paul comes back with congrats on your event yesterday. I heard as always, I wasn't surprised that you crushed it. See, that's what collaboration is. Someone builds somebody else up and they find something.
Now I pay him for this.
Well, I'm saying it, and I thought it was sincere. You know,
No, it is. It is. I was in New York with Nicole. It was a rally for worthiness and kindness. And I couldn't get physically to New York, but everybody else was there. Well, I have to tell you, talk about a collaboration. I wasn't sure how I was going to fit in because they were bringing me in remotely, right? And everybody else was there. But you know what? They were able to do it. They actually got pictures of the screen with me and them. And it was actually quite a milestone for me. It was, I would say that yesterday, 11/11, which is a very spiritual, right, energetic day, was the day that I actually got who I was.
really.
That I no longer have to worry about what other people are doing, what they're talking about. If it's in my arena, great. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that I know who I am now. And that happened yesterday when I got the opportunity to repeat something that meant a lot to me that I hadn't done since 2016. So that was a milestone, let's put it that way. Thank you, Paul.
Well, that's great. And I think all of us have to take some credit for helping people in their milestones, either through our support or just our being there. And I think that's the key is not only can people come together to collaborate, but people come together to collaborate to collaborators, right? The audience is a collaboration. The people on the stage, because everybody's interacting, everybody's open and accessible. So the challenge becomes who wants to put something into the pot instead of just watching it boil or take something out, right? And why not be, that's the whole key to strength and attributes is allowing them to benefit yourself and others, right? If you've got a talent, if you've got a voice and you've got a stage, why not take that opportunity? There's no way I'm going to be able to. Kegler is as far as I can go with this name. Welcome from Turkey. Just shows our message has no boundaries. It's accessible and available everywhere in the world that has access. Randy says, just make sure to call me when dinner is served. For sure, Randy. When is dinner served today? And when
I don't know. How did that come in? That was out of context. Randy, you'll have to bring us into context because it came in a few minutes later.
Here. It's what it is when we're naming people, everybody says, whatever you do, don't call me late for dinner. What do you want me to call you? And the punchline is anything, but don't call me late for dinner.
Got it. Thank
you.
We
got Randy Noah Kaglar. That's amazing. Turkey and Randy, Thanksgiving. There's so many things to connect with. So with that said, now that we're back on collaboration and we went totally off script, but that's fine because we invited the audience to share where they are. It looks like Randy and we got dueling commenters here. Randy says, there you go. See, got
send them the link. They can get on the stage with us.
He's known for his foodie post, ha. Well, if you're talking food, you're talking to right people here. So we have a high appreciation for food and eating. So even more welcome, Kegler. So, and it's nice Leslie was able to enjoy a milestone.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it lasts for a long, long time.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, the new Leslie continues to reappear weekly. So, with that said, what collaboration, looking back, without looking too far back, was pivotal for you?
Okay, I can give you a really good example of a collaboration. And, the one thing is when we begin to collaborate, we set a vision, all right, or a mission or a goal. Or a purpose, if you will, of the collaboration. But you won't know exactly how to get there. You might only know a little bit to start, but the idea, the mission or the vision is what you want to do. So in 2016, 17, and 18, I hosted with 12 of my mastermind clients, which I teach all year long, every week, the principles of success, universal laws, setting and achieving goals, living life large. I wanted to create an event in October for women in our area, a business event. This is pre-COVID, 2016. I mean, I have done enough large events to know that there's no way to know how much money you're going to make. Not really, if you've never done it before. You can have an estimate, but my experience says is that I was always the one who ended up digging into my savings account for these harebrained schemes, right? So these are my clients, and this was in February, and I said, hey, how would you guys like to go to the biotech center and have 250 women and anybody who wants to speak can learn to speak? Well, there were 12 people and 6 wanted to speak. Perfect example. A couple were speakers, but a couple of them were from university, which is different kind of speaking. That's 80% content, 20% entertainment. So those people, we had to teach them how to be 80% entertainment, right? And 20% content, because in university, they read their slides and everything, and that's not what speaking is about. So it was a great opportunity, but I said to them all, and they're all entrepreneurs. Nobody worked in corporate, so no one had that regular check. This gives you an idea of what it takes to step out on faith when you don't have the money. So I said, well, look, everybody has to kick in $1,000. I can seed this event in October with $12,000. And then the 1st of November, whatever money is left over, I'll write you a check. Well, that was their first hump, right? Because it takes 9 months. So where am I going to get $1,000? It's all relative, of course, right? But the goal was to have this big event, and it takes 9 months to produce an effective event. The more time you have, the more people, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So we did that, and we created the event in October, and I was fortunate the 1st of November to write everybody a check. It wasn't a big check, but consider that if it had taken a loss, everybody had agreed to pay up to cover the loss. So it was huge for everybody. 6 people got to get on stage for the first time, right? I mean, on a big platform with 250 people in the audience. 2 of them had never presented in public like this, only university, and there were weeks of practice, right? And we had all sorts of vendors, etc. It was a huge success.
Mm-hmm.
It took every person, it took everyone had to risk something. And let me tell you, $1,000 was a risk,
Mm-hmm.
right? When you're an entrepreneur and you can't consistently know what your monthly paycheck is going to be, right? So you can plan if it's like this, right? And that's why my work is about consistent achievement. So you don't have this haphazard business, but that's the truth of it. So their big step out on faith was coming up with $1,000 and not knowing if they get it back or if they would owe more. Most big things that happen that are milestones that turn into big steps in awareness there's an investment and there's a risk.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what, Don, though, my experience has been overall, the risk matches or exceeds the investment every time. If you average it out, when we're tentative to invest in something, for example, in 2008, I invested $16,000 to study, right? $16,000, but I didn't have it. But I didn't care because I knew I wanted to do it. And then I watched the universe send me $20,000 within those few months. So, what I know for sure is that if you can get past the fear of poverty just long enough to take the risk and do a little investing, the universe you will see that you'll get more out of it than you ever put in. Ultimately, if you'll just be a tiny bit patient and a little risk and a little faith, you're going to be blown away by what you get back.
Okay. And maybe one has to look at things in, again, just like we look at words in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Is sometimes investing is early investing and sometimes it's late investing. Early investing, it's, seed capital or venture capital, is usually to get someone off the ground. It's usually to higher risk investment, but it's a higher return investment because if it works, then it can lead to bigger and bigger things. And so the key is where do you invest? And I think collaboration is easier when you collaborate with time than with money, even though without collaborating with money, you're never going to get anywhere.
Well, let me just say though that the investment is not always money. So yes, there was $1,000, but the investment is something that is influential, but I don't think it's measurable. And it's your willingness to stick your neck out a little bit when you don't know what's going to happen. There's fear. That's normal. So there's something that holds us back and says, well, I can't afford that. I don't want to do it, but that's too much. That's all relative. And it's all not pointed on the result. But getting back to the collaboration, those 12 people, there was something wonderful about everybody putting in the $1,000, right?
Sure. Well, you don't want to be the only one
Right.
in whatever it is that you're doing in a group. It defeats collaboration when you got to pay and not get paid, and then you got to pay everybody and they don't have anything to risk. What I see is most people will risk time and effort, but not money. And maybe for a little money, they could save a lot of time and effort because at a certain point, how much do you value your time and effort? If someone will say, I'll give you 6 months for free, but not $100, well, they just qualified their time as worth 6 months for less than $100 because they wouldn't shift it. Mm-hmm. The other element of collaboration that has to do with finance is trust, right? So when someone actually writes a check, they've proven the commitment that they carried out. It's not, okay, when this happens, I'll do that, because that's kind of an iffy conditional situation. And really, who steps up to the plate first and biggest? And I think the qualifier, though, is are people risk aversive or opportunity oriented? So is it more important not to lose than to benefit? Is it okay to say, well, I don't mind if I don't get any better. I'm just not going to allow myself to lose anymore. But here's the thing. You can't make independent, absolute decisions in a dynamic, changing world because the game plays with or without you. You can't say, I'm taking the next week off and let the world wait for me. When you get back after a week's vacation, you're going to come back to stuff that was needed to be handled while you were gone. Now you got that plus the stuff you didn't, which is double, and that's fine. And I think until you challenge yourself, do you know what you got in the tank? Right?
Let me bring up the people. There's a whole group of people that are bigger than the few that are willing to invest when they get to the place. They're willing to invest in themselves, in the collaborative effort. They're compelled to do this service in the world. They're all good about that. But there's the majority of people who have money to invest, throw the money at it and expect it to work. How many times have we invested in a program, bought a book, and never done a thing with it? I've had people, and not anymore, but when anybody could come and work with me, right? I'm serious about my work, right? It's different now in terms of who works with me. You have to be so hungry for what I do and want it. This isn't a need. This isn't a nice to have. That's why there's only a few people that I work with at a time. But there's a whole lot of people out there that have the money, but they don't have the willingness. They don't have the persistence. They don't really have the desire, but they have the money. So they would pay me and then drag their feet. This is why I didn't do a lot of one-on-one coaching, because, and this was probably my fault too. But what I discovered is, as a one-on-one coach, while you're paid the most because it's one-on-one, I was doing most of the work, not the client. So it's this. So just because you have money and you can throw it at something and call it an investment, there's, I think, more people out there that are that way. Oh, well, let me do this. I'm looking for a quick fix. Oh, this looks good. This looks good. How much money have we piddled away because we didn't have a clear vision of what we really wanted, and we weren't willing really to do the work. We wanted to throw money at something. Now, Paul asked a question here, which I thought was good, about where the heck is it? Something about will the universe guarantee a positive result? Ultimately, it will. Are you willing to wait? Because, we don't know exactly by when, because the results and the manifestation is up to the universe. We have our job, set a goal, something we want, keep a positive upbeat, keep moving toward that thing that we want, watch for the signs, right? Start with a good strategy, right? But how long it takes depends on how much awareness and learning we have to do. So some things that you invest in take a decade, but you didn't know it when you started. And then some things less. So will the universe guarantee? Yes, because it's a law, right? Every low will have a matching high. You won't know when. So you've got to be patient to look. But what you could do is understand and go ahead and give this to universal law. Even if we don't understand exactly how it works yet, it's always working 24/7, 365. So yes, you will have a matching high to your low. If you invest money, you may not get it back the same way from the same source. But if you're patient enough and willing to wait to prove this, then you'll see, yes, you will be guaranteed the matching result.
Great. And with that said, that kind of covers the financial side of collaboration. One last caveat I'd like to throw in is, I was just looking at what people spend money on. They have a breakdown when you retire, what percentage of your income goes for housing and transportation and food and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
One was to look at their investment account in themselves.
Mm.
So, just start with the first dollar you spend. Well, I bought a book about business, right? Well, that was an investment in yourself, plus the time it took to read it, right?
If you read it, yes.
That's right. So if you took a whole 12 months and added up all the books you bought, the tapes you went to, the lectures, the speakers, whatever it is so small relative to what you spent on food. And you can't remember most of whatever you ate last year, and it definitely isn't with you. Same thing on spending money on utilities, right? You're not getting anything except the ability to keep getting what you want to have to light your place.
Mm-hmm.
But relatively speaking, how much are you shortchanging yourself? There's a philosophy in business, which is pay yourself first because you'll know you'll get paid, right? Just like people say, as soon as you get paid, take 15% off the top and put it away because
I've never done that. Do you know anybody who's ever done it?
Not somebody like me, but I can respect and appreciate that, because it's not that
It sounds good. It sounds really good.
It's good if you are into having everything that's proper order, and you want to have something to say, I saved another dollar today, and that's great. I respect those people, but if you're a player, if you're someone who's willing to go all in when you feel it's the right time to go all in, then you don't do those things, because you could be saving, and some comes up and it all goes in the pot, and that's okay too. At least you had something saved up. But the point is where are you getting your return on your time, on your thought, on your relationships, on your investments? And it all adds up together. So if you say, hey, I'm going to take this person by the hand, work with them, and because of that, it's going to make me better and them better, well, that's an investment. Are you willing to do it? Most people, they trip one day into the next. Whatever comes by is what they're working with. Whatever comes by is what they're investing in. And they're potluckers. Whatever potluck was today, that's what I ended up with.
And that's most people. Like this ability to actually figure out what in the heck you really want, right? I mean, look, we live in a world with a sensory overload of opportunities. So it's very easy to do what you're talking about. The bright, shiny object syndrome, what they call squirrels. There's so many opportunities and so many ways to have fun, right? Which I am very much a part of fun. I think that you should have fun, or I like to have fun with whatever I do. However, it's the difference between being an entrepreneur and working for the state government. Now, I worked as a temp for a few months for our state government in wastewater, and it was an administrative position. By the way, everybody smoked in that place. This was a few years ago. The place was like, you walked in and you got a buzz from the cigarette smoke, ashes everywhere, an ashtray on every desk. And by the way, if you didn't smoke, you wouldn't dare say anything because the smokers ruled. But anyway, I had never worked for the state, right? Now, these are people who are okay with working 30 years in return for the retirement, the paid insurance, etc. So in those few months, when I wasn't quite finished with something, I would ask my supervisor, should I go ahead and stay a little bit late tonight and finish this? No. The answer was no. You can always do it tomorrow. This happened many times. I was feeling a little guilty. I didn't quite finish. I offered to stay and they said, no. So the mentality, the mindset is there's no urgency, except one of the tasks I had was to arrange for a baby shower for one of the employees. And when that invitation went out late, they jumped on me with everybody's feet. So their values were not about getting the work done and earning that paycheck. What they were concerned with was everybody didn't have the invitation to the baby shower. Now, I can't work that way. I was there for a few months. It's so boring. It's like wasting time. Yet there are people that do this their whole life. They pace themselves because they want the security of that paycheck.
Yeah, but they're conditioned to be dependent. They're conditioned to depend on that paycheck. Every 2 Fridays will show up. They know exactly what it is. They know how they're going to use it.
That's
so
right.
Their life becomes less troublesome from a future standpoint because they don't have one. They've got a continuing present, and they found themselves, and they're probably just honest underachievers who probably wouldn't be accepted in a dynamic, entrepreneurial, fast-paced, innovative marketplace. And I think it's really about priorities. But before we get too far, we want to get back to what the most important part of the program is our audience. And Paul,
Our 3 listeners.
one day
we're really popular today.
that'll squeak out somewhere. He always posts what he has for dinner. That's our foodie gentleman. Inside joke. I always ask him what's for dinner, and this Alpha. We've got some great names today from Nigeria. Back to Paul. The Grace will always be time for me. I'll tell you one thing about investments. You don't know what money is until you've had a lot of it, and also when you've had none of it. So when you've been through both extremes, then you have perspective, right? And one thing about money, and it's easy to say, there's so much of it. There's always more, and there's more you can get. It's what do you do to deserve it? Free money, lottery tickets are not going to knock on your door. If it does, it's very rare.
I've never bought one. It's almost like this thing, like not buying gas from Exxon since the Exxon Valdez, right? I mean, how many years has that been? It was in the 90s.
Most people have lived and died between now and then. It's been so long. Does Universe guarantee high yield return on projected?
It wasn't Paul. It was Afalabi that asked that. Yes.
See what happens? We've corrected. Yes. Paul says it's why I don't care whether something is free or costs 10 grand. My time is the most, so I show up present and prepared to learn. Well, you got to be open. And I think whatever you do, you're correct. Thank you. I'm very picky with who I collaborate because alignment is the most important thing to me. Most people don't realize that who they collaborate which is a reflection on them. So true. The other thing about it is by you investing in yourself, it gives them an opportunity to invest in themselves and you and the both of you, right? If you push something forward and it never comes back in any way, shape, or form, doesn't have to come back in the same form. But a thank you, a little gratitude, a little appreciation goes a distance. And it really shows you how much it mattered. And what matters to you to give when it doesn't matter to someone to receive what you gave, you're going to find a new giver, right? And you're going to another getter. And I think that's where people got to understand is nothing ends with something. It either continues or redirects itself somewhere else. Right? If you're going to contribute to something, you want to get value for it. But the difference is you can't be on two sides of the fence at the same time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You can't say, give me this and I'll give up that. Mm-hmm. You got to leave a room to enter another room. And if people, go ahead. Well,
I was going to say that brings up the law of sacrifice. And that brings up, the things that people face when they lose a job. Right. They're in the moment of losing the job and feeling poorly. And the reality is that the people that let them go no longer appreciate them for who they are, that your skills are no longer valued. Get out of there and go somewhere where somebody is already looking for you rather than being upset because we lost our job and, what's going to happen next? How long will it take you to realize, okay, they no longer value how really great I am at what I do. There's somebody out there that's already looking for me. And in fact, when I show up, they're going to say, where have you been? We've been looking for someone like you. That's the law of sacrifice. You've got to give up the thing of lesser value to make room for that greater thing. If you stay at that job you're miserable in, those people out there looking for you, they'll never see you. You can't, as you said, Don, you can't have both. You can't be miserable and be unappreciated, if you will. No longer appreciated, to say it nicely, right? Their needs and wants have changed. Fine. Let me out of here, because there's people out there that I can make a difference with. I made a difference with you initially. You no longer see that value, or you're looking for some other value. Fine. Here's the spot. I'm going where I'm appreciated. And the sooner we get a hold of ourselves and say, look, you're really good at what you do, right? They don't appreciate it anymore, but look what you've done for them. So rather than beating ourselves up, what did I do wrong, etc., go back and remind yourself of what you have done, and that there are people out there already looking for you. I mean, they are waiting for you to tell these people I'm done. But there's the risk again, right? There's faith and the risk. Do you have faith in yourself? Are your skills good? When you first went there, did they appreciate you? If they did, that means now your skills are better, right? So if they don't appreciate you, they don't value you anymore, walk away, take the risk, because I guarantee you there's something better already on its way to you. You deserve more.
Well, here's another thing to that, and I think that's a mature way of looking at things, is now the way LinkedIn is and live streaming and everything we're doing, you don't have to have either or. You could start building your own while you're with someone, right? You can come to LinkedIn a couple hours a day, a couple hours at night if you're looking at education.
Mhm.
And your biggest, and at least my biggest security has been my relationships. I
Mhm.
know a lot of people who can do a lot for a lot of people and are willing and able and motivated to do that. So when you've got people you can go to and say, hey, here's my situation, I could use some help here. And their question is like, when do you need it and how much?
Mhm.
Well, when you got that, it's not everything I have in the bank, right? It's not what I planned for the future, because you can't plan for the future. I'd say 70% of bankruptcies in this country are health related. I mean, these are people that saved all their life and they had a medical situation or something, didn't get coverage, and all of a sudden everything went out the window. And where do they go? It's too late to go back and have a whole new career, save up all that money. But if you invested in people, if you supported those people who may be inclined to support you, right? And that's where collaboration comes in. It's like, hey, we got to get together. I've got a challenge here. I want to see if we can help each other, or you can help me, right? And usually, here's the way to get the most help is just ask for advice. There's a saying, if you want advice, ask for money. And if you want money, ask for advice, right? Because if someone says, I need 10 grand, you know what you're going to get? Well, have you checked into selling this of yours? Hey, and maybe you can go to the bank. That's a nice house here. You can borrow everything, but hey, when you need it, I can give it to you, or I don't want to give it to you. But if you
And who are you asking? Is it a mastermind partner? Is it that part of that group? Or is it just some Tom, Dick, and Harry? Right? Because what is their level of awareness? When you're ready, I've got the 7 key benefits of collaboration and mastermind, and maybe you'll pick one of those and we can.
well, let me finish with Paul.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
One of the most values I learned about personal development is that sometimes that's the cost to learn a lesson. My 10K mistake paled compared to one of my who said hers was 100. At the end of the day,
It was your 10K investment, Paul. It was not a mistake.
well, and here's the thing is you can't win all the time. Sometimes winning is learning and not earning. Sometimes the pain of a loss may protect you from another loss like that. Sometimes when you lose something didn't matter, you can probably lose it again. If you go home and say, wow, I took a beating, and people do that. They go to Vegas and they lose more than they can afford. They go to a slot machine, whatever it is, they get hurt. The next day they wake up like, how did I even do something like that? And you need that self-reflection, say, well, don't ever go into that place again. Or if you do, take $50, and when it's gone, you're
That's
going with it, you know. But that's discipline, you know, and all it takes is an impulsive moment in somebody's life, and they wish they had that moment back. And there's a lot of people sitting in institutions because of, you know, forgetting about responsibility. So the key to collaboration is be somebody wants to be with. Bring something that has value to other people. You know, because if you don't have value, how are you going to get value for something you don't have? I mean, it's almost then you're shortchanging everybody, right? Because it's not authentic sometimes, it's not legitimate. I mean, there's a lot of scammy people on LinkedIn. First thing they get you as soon as they connect is, I want to sell you something. Paul says, and if you think about it as a business owner, it's tax deductible. Yeah, but money's still money. You know, and when you lose it, it's never a good feeling. Losing money by itself is not as bad as losing money to somebody, right? If you put $100 in a stock and it disappears, well, it's just you and the stock, right? If it's someone that conned you out of that 100, that'll burn a lot longer and make you feel worse. So I think everything we're shifting towards is risk, fear of losing, not having the confidence to invest at times, not having a plan. And, you know, it just shows you how much need there is for collaboration.
Want me to share some of these particular elements? Because I bet you'll have a lot to speak about.
Okay, 7. Let's go.
There are 7. Just pick one. So this is in my 2014 bestseller. I've been doing masterminds for years. So the first thing you already mentioned, collaborative tasks and talents. The biggest thing is saving time. Mm-hmm. Time is consumable, right? You don't ever get it back. And if you have a mission or vision with your mastermind, a goal, right, then you'll be able to answer the question, if we take this action, is it going to take us toward our goal? So the whole idea is, first of all, is to share talents, to share tasks, right? And to reduce our own learning curve, and that's the second one, reducing your learning curve, because you're learning from the other people, right? You're not actually having to invest financially, you're getting it as part of the mastermind. So you're gaining skills, but also confidence. And let me see what the other ones are. Okay, when you work with the mastermind and you have a mission or a vision, you can actually track and see real progress along the way. And as you said, it's an instant, valuable support network. It also serves as an accountability system. Like in my program, 2 of my clients pair up. And in addition to the training, they have a few questions and a 20-minute meeting each week about the tasks for that week. What stopped them? Because what we've discovered is if you wait a whole week and you've had a problem and you've not spoken to anybody about it, it can wear on you. So this automatic accountability system in a mastermind, in collaboration. Hey, Dawn, did you notice I couldn't find you on LinkedIn on Friday? What's going on? So I'm already your instant support network. I'm not worried that Dawn's going to say, well, that's not your business. What do you do? And you said, well, why did you ask? Right? Well, because I go and check up on Dawn when I have a few minutes to make sure everything is going okay. And the last one is the developing of mutual cores of integrity, honesty, compassion, authenticity. Masterminds, Benjamin Franklin called his mastermind a junto, Junto. It lasted 40 years, right? They stayed together that long. Imagine what they accomplished. I have a group of masterminds that we started in 2008, a group of gentlemen, and they've done 2 501c3s over the years, and they started a software technology company for food trucks. So food trucks don't have to drive, park, and play. There's actually a coordinated effort to know in this town on these days, this is how much food you're going to need, right? So that it's more, it's not drive, park, and pray. You actually know how much money you're going to need and invest, right? So the idea with these masterminds is they're like-minded people. They'll be your partners for life. I told mine, and I've told them all this all the time, meet once a month anyway. And after we finished the mastermind years ago, they decided to stay together, and each month each one of the gentlemen would pick a different principle of success and lead the discussion, so that they stayed together, they worked together, they were developing leadership skills, right, in integrity, and making a difference in the world. So one of those 7, we didn't talk about accountability, but what piqued your fancy?
Well, I think that obviously the long-term nature of the mastermind you got involved in is justifiable for having one.
Mhm.
I believe that it's when you look at collaboration, everything we're talking about, even word of the day, it's all about communication,
Mhm.
right? If you can get more information faster, better, easier, and you can provide more in return,
Mhm.
and then everybody's doing it, you really have a lot of synergy and leverage. Before I get to my next point, I want to catch up. Paul's here. Another huge shift I made this year is return on energy versus return on investment. Randy comes back smoking, I think.
No, that's a smoking, but I'm not sure exactly what he was.
Smoking example, because these are, from the place you worked at.
Oh, that's right, the smoking.
Yeah,
Smocking is a sewing
yeah.
thing. Well,
I'm good at interpreting.
yes,
All
you are.
we can count on is time. We only have so much. Use it wisely. And the same thing with relationships, right? You can only be with one person at a time, in person, one-on-one. I qualified that. I agree with that. I'm always looking for agreement too. 10G would just piss me off. Well, it's all relative. Honestly, I was in Las Vegas one night and I saw a guy lose $500,000 in 45 seconds.
Oh my God.
On 3 rolls of the dice. He was betting 150 to 200,000 a roll, and he tapped out and he wanted another $500,000 and they wouldn't give it to him. And I found they lost $1 million the week before. And I just can't understand how someone could lose $1 million in a minute.
It's all relative.
Yeah, but then
They have more of it than we do.
I understand, but it's like, how do you go to the grocery store and spend $30 and how do you square with that? I also get excited about my collaborator. You both taught me invaluable lessons and insights that I share and give you both credit for. Paul is a prime example of gratitude, respect, and appreciation. And that goes a long way because so many people don't have that.
That's right.
They have everything but that, and they miss the last piece, which doesn't help them. The question, how can I do more for the other person? Or how much more can I do? Then you could say, well, how much am I going to do? At least you know what the capacity, and at the end of the day, what are they worth, right? If you go, support your flock, right? You want to make sure you take care of everybody and you take care of them better than they were expecting, because now they're going to think out of guilt or out of obligation or gratitude, I got to take care of that person to keep it coming, right? If this person just brought over this beautiful chocolate cake, and I was impressed. I had a lady, Kathleen, who's actually coming back next week, I believe. And she's kind of old school. She wrote me this beautiful handwritten note, put it in a handwritten addressed envelope with a stamp, right? And it's rare. It used to be commonplace. You'd have an interview, you'd send a person a letter or a note thanking them for taking the time. You'd meet somebody at a conference, you'd pop in a little note. And it's the things that no one does that used to mean so much that still mean even more for the ones who do,
You
you
know,
know?
Bob Berg still is a proponent. I remember years ago, I shared the stage with him, God, 10, 12 years ago. And he hadn't even written The Go Giver yet. It was, I think, Endless Referrals, something like that. And I remember him talking about sending handwritten thank you notes. Now, this was 10 or 12 years ago. And even then, it was old school. So imagine now, if you do that now, right, it sticks with someone. I had a woman in an audio room about a month ago send me a message, Leslie, I'd like to write you a letter. Could I have your mailing address? And I had just met her in the audio room. Well, I don't know. I think she wrote it a month ago, but I only received it a couple of days ago. It was on white lined composition paper. You know what I'm talking about, right? And it was in cursive. Hello, those who don't know what cursive is, right? What will Coca Cola do? It's all in cursive. Anyway, um, and it was written in green ink with the most gorgeous penmanship, the way I learned to write. And it went on, and the whole page was how much she loved what I said. And I mean, this is the kind of letter that everybody wishes at least one time they would get it. I had forgotten about it. So I was shocked when I got it. But then I remembered when I looked her back up, I went, oh, that's right. She's the one who asked me for my address. But it was a month ago. So to your point, it takes a special person to do that. And I suspect maybe 2 or 3 out of 100 would ever do that. And I think I'm being generous.
Well, and I think what they understand is how rare it is. And a lot of these people are good at writing letters. They like it. They got good handwriting. They've got nice stationery, and it shows really well for them. And again, how many people would you ever write a letter to? Right? And I even today, when you say, let me have your address, you're wondering, never thought about it when everybody had to mail you something. But I think being different, being yourself, and adding value, and it meant something. I kept it, and I thanked her for sending it. So you really extended the conversation.
Yeah.
And now you've got an exchange that took place, that someone made an effort, and then you made an effort back. So what you said is, hey, I'll give you the green light to send me more of these, right? If you want to send me another letter for any reason, I can do that with you or for you. And, I think that at a certain point, people need to forget about the reasons for not doing something after they understand they don't apply anymore. To give an example, I'm starting another collaboration group. Okay. And, you got to qualify for it. It's not the cost so much. It's only $97 a month. It's going to meet every other Thursday. So it's only twice a month because everybody's got time and only so much time. And that also allows people to collaborate I see this show as exchange of ideas, thoughts, entertainment, inspiration, education. But there has to be a time where people sit around a table together and say, what are we going to do? What are you doing? What can we do together? How do we take individuals and put them in positions of activity with knowledge, with support, right? That's planned. Why not meet by plan than by accident? Why not meet for purpose instead
And
of
that's what all my masterminds they're teaching, but they're also business masterminds. So out of over the last 15 years and about 150 masterminds, the people within the masterminds were starting businesses. So two accountability partners decided that they wanted to do workshops together, paid workshops. And so for 2 different business quarters, the first one was creating what is the content? How are we going to bring our stuff together in 12 weeks? All of that was created, plus the date, plus the promotion. And then in the second 12 weeks was the execution. But that actually is happening inside a mastermind of 10 people. And then those two, while they were still part of the mastermind, they were off doing one-off things. So were other people. So when I say that, one of the things that's so important is that everybody in the mastermind, and I can send this to you, this is important that there's a set of agreements in advance that everybody concurs with, along with leaving if it no longer serves you. So, for example, you want to make sure that you've got a mission, that there's a common interest. Does it all have to be all realtors? No. Could it be a realtor, a mortgage person, a banker? Yes. Could it be just 10 entrepreneurs? Yes. But they have a common interest with each participant. It could be engagement. They're committed to the success of everybody else. So get over being jealous. You're looking for the success of everyone in the group. They're looking for yours. You're looking for theirs. So in advance, if you agree to these things, everybody says, yeah, I can go along with that. So you already have this list of expectations. We have similar skill levels in different areas, right? So I can help you, Dawn. You can help me. And then you want to have feedback. You want accountability. If you're the kind of person who doesn't want to hear, this isn't the mastermind for you. You always want to reach or exceed your goals. You trust, Donald, you brought this up. You trust group feedback. After all, they're looking for you to be successful. So why wouldn't you? And then that you will actually take action on ideas from the mastermind. We had one men and women mastermind years ago. And this guy whose grandfather was from Germany, and he was well known for his homemade pretzels. These big, hot, delicious, salty pretzels, right? This guy does IT, right, at a local place out at RTP. But in the mastermind, he says, I really want to do a food truck. This was probably 8 years ago. I want a food truck. So we were meeting every week. There were couples, men and women in this particular one. Well, what happened was everybody, as they were out driving around, was looking for a food truck because he wanted to buy and upfit a food truck. So we would meet and, I found one here. And we would call and here's one for sale. Well, I've got a picture of me in the food truck, actually, that was selling, right? Pretzels. But it took the whole mastermind, found his truck, and then 2 or 3 of the guys helped upfit it with welding and all that stuff, right? But it became a trusted family, right? Because all these parameters were set down in the beginning, there was no jealousy. Everybody, and when another one that we did in that group, this couple was going for a contest. It was like Chevy or Ford. Anyway, the contest is if you won, you got to travel around in this brand new Ford or Chevy to different or different places in the United States. And every town that you went to, there was a big deal because it was a promotion for Chevy or Ford or whatever. So people from all over the country were applying to get this. It's 3 months on the road. Everything's paid for, and you're driving around in this snazzy car. Guess what? The couple in my mastermind won it with all of our help, right? And they spent 3 months tooling around the United States, being, applauded in different places, representing the car company. So when you have a trusted mastermind or a collaborative group that is looking for you to be successful, they don't have this undercover thing. Well, how come she got to do that and I didn't? Right? So there's a level of awareness. There's not this jealousy and judgment, and that's most people. So you have to be really selective. If everybody in your mastermind or your collaboration will agree to those things, yes, I want feedback. Yes, you can trust me. Yes, I'll take action. Yes, I have skills. If everybody agrees, you got a good one. And include That if it no longer works for me, I want to be able to walk away without feeling bad or that I've let you down. And that's one of the elements. If it doesn't work anymore, hey, we love you. That's one of the agreements. So
Well,
therefore, you're not jammed in to something that you maybe it no longer feels right for you. I don't know.
well, everything is everything goes, and everything is, can get better, maybe not so good, but that's okay, right? And that's being nimble. Well, Catherine's here. Catherine was here yesterday, was great with Debbie Clements, our butterfly lady. And so happy to have you. Perspective matters for sure. Good to see you too. That's great. Randy comes back. That's why I use a P.O. box. They may figure out the city, but the actual location is still unknown. Safety measure. We're in a world. That's true. Randy says hello. Randy says hello again. You can't succeed without accountability. You can't learn if you're not accountable. Doctor, okay, I know it's a little off topic. It seems been on my mind since I've been practicing. How have you both overcome shame? Okay, I'll get back to that.
Well, wait a minute. I can answer him.
I'll answer it, and you can answer it, but we only got like 30 seconds. Oh, hush, pretzels. Now I'm hungry. Randy, I was thinking of pretzels too. It's all your fault. You can't be.
Oh, they were so good. They had mustard. Some of them had mustard in
talking
them.
like that around lunchtime.
Oh my
You got to do
God.
it between meals, like 3 o'clock, 10 o'clock. But once you're at 12 o'clock, everybody's thinking pretzels now.
Shame is a fear, and you never actually get over it. You practice outweighing it, right? That's a belief, right? But you can create a new belief that says that you have no reason to be shameful. And then,
I think it's easy to say and it's easy to understand. A lot of it has to do with your value of your own judgment versus others. And some things you have no control over that cause shame, right? As accidents happen, you drop a pot, it breaks, you're embarrassed, something that you had no intention of doing, you
yeah,
end up involved in somehow, and it's not you, it's not the you want people to see, whatever it is. The question is not do you experience it, but how long and what does it do to you? Right? I mean, just like taking accountability, I'm ashamed of certain things I've done, knowingly or unknowingly, but I don't let it stop me. I learn from it. I'm not going to be the guy who keeps beating themselves up over something you can't change.
but
And
there are those who do. And that until what point? So everybody reaches a point, but in the meantime, until it takes you to realize what you just said, which takes time, you're piddling away time.
but you see, that's where a collaboration group comes in. Is
Yes.
somebody, someone will say, well, I could see you're kind of down and out today. And someone says, well, I just experienced something or did something, and it's really not who I am, and I'm really feeling bad. And then most people will come to the rescue and say, well, you're not giving yourself enough credit for all the good things you do, for how rare this is. And once you accept it, I think that's the key. Once you take responsibility and accountability, the shame tends to go away. It's usually when you're trying to disguise something or run from something that's not authentic that people will not really support too much. But everybody loves somebody who says, I got to tell you, I just screwed up. I didn't mean to, but here's what it is. It's like, well, at least we got it out of the way and up front versus someone tries to get opaque about it. But with that, it's 103.31.
We went over. Oh my God, with 4 listeners. 5.
Yeah, well, that's all it takes, and I think that's the key is maybe I made a conscious effort not to go for more, but better with the people here. I'd rather have 4 or 5 people throwing us great softballs that we can hit out of the park than a lot of antsy people who are just here to be seen and be seen, you know? And I think it's the content that gets developed that lasts. When this show is over, everything we talked about, everybody that influenced our talking lives on. And that's what's in the bag. right? No one knows if there's 500 people watching it or 5, but they do know what they're hearing and seeing. And that's important. And that's really what we're creating is collaboration groups by the day, right? The group today was different than the group yesterday. It'll be different than the group tomorrow. But here's the thing. This show could not continue if it didn't have at least 4 or 5 solid people every day. But the 4 or 5, I can tell you, it's Christine Feedy, it'd be Kelly, it'd be Harvey, I mean, Paul. I mean, they just keep coming through. And eventually they'll all come together because of the value people are sharing here. What we're talking about, there's no agreement, but there's an unsigned agreement that people will be positive, people will be supportive when they show up here. And I think if people can abide by just simple rules of trust and honesty, and it comes back to the same way. So I think the beauty of collaboration is it's not always on you. And it also depends on you to come through once in a while, but you don't got to come through every minute. But if you're doing it by yourself, it is you. When you stop, it stops. When you start, it starts. Wouldn't it be nice to take a break and see someone, someone go to the gym and you get the muscles for it once in a while? And I think that's possible. So leaving that on a hearty laugh of Leslie, I want to thank you all so much for coming today, making this Sunday special. Tomorrow we've got Kelly with Lisa Goldenthal, who's coming back for the second time. Beverly will be here Tuesday. Carl Dakin is coming and will start to be a regular. He's actually part of the new group. And then Kelly and Harvey are with me Friday. And then Jeffrey and Kathleen are here Saturday. And then it only gets better. So thank you, Leslie, for being here on a beautiful Sunday in Colorado. I hope it's as nice as where everybody is as it is here. And with that said, have a beautiful day. Stay safe. Come back tomorrow. We'll do it all again. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody. Thanks, Don.
Thank you, Leslie.